You got Jody McDonald. I'm going nowhere fast. God bless John McMullen. He's off to Eagles camp over in South Philly. It's going to be hot out there today. And it's going to be hot for the next however many, like 10 days. Yeah, I like sitting in the comfort and climes of broadcast studio in the Shea McDonald home. Mark Farzetta likes doing the same. He doesn't look sweaty at all. No. You're not sweating, are you, Farzetta?
No, I did all the lawn work yesterday. I did the trimming. I did the mowing, and then just hung out.
Did you really get out there and do that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, see, the difference is, and you know this, Jody, we made the move to the suburbs, and in the suburbs, we bought a house that has a pool. So there's that carrot at the end of the treadmill, whatever. So when you get done all the yard work, you jump right in the pool, and all of a sudden it's an attitude adjustment.
Well, I'm glad you got the pool action in, but there's no chance. The only thing I did was pick up the dog's droppings in the backyard, and I was out there for about 5 minutes. I forget this. If I miss one, I don't give a you-know-what. If the guy comes to cut the lawn today, I'm going to mess up his mower. I'm not outside. And McMullen's going to stand there for an hour. What is he, nuts? But you got to do what you got to do to cover and talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, and we surely appreciate your jumping in with us, filling in for Johnny Mac today. And I just got your text telling you it's you and I for the next hour and a half, because I have never had such a poor reception for guest requests. And I didn't even hit guys who come on the show all the time, because I already know that they're going to be down to practice. So it eliminates a whole bunch of possibilities before you even start the show. I'll tell you who I reached out to yesterday.
Ooh, all right.
Mac now.
Marcus
Hayes, because I knew Marcus Hayes wasn't down there the other day. So I figured, he might be. He's off and he's out of town. Kevin Kincaid, Carson Broad.
Yep.
Buddy of mine from Sirius XM's NFL network already left for his camp work. He's in Arizona. He goes, yeah, I'm not getting up at 6:50 for you, Jody. Sorry, I'm in Arizona for the camp. Andrew DeCecco, I didn't know which of the Inside the Birds guys were going to be there. Inside the Eagle guy going to be there, not there. He couldn't do it. Damo, no can do. Matty V, my buddy Verderam from Sports Illustrated. Ross Tucker, no. And the final, Ricky Ricardo, I put the request out this morning. All the other ones I hit last night. Ricardo said, yeah, I'm going to be somewhere over Carolina at that time. He was just getting onto a plane. He had a day off from the Yankees. So he ran home to Florida to get something done. And now he's got to fly back up and call the Yankee game tonight. So that's an 0 for an 11. Farzetta.
Wow.
And not one did I mention with Mark Farzetta, because if I had done that, then I knew I was taking an 0 for an 11. So I just kept it all on me. I took the 0 for 11. So you and I are going to BS about the Eagles for the next hour and 25 minutes if you're up for it.
Well, that is yeoman's work, my friend. Yeoman's work. The thing that does suck is about doing a show is that the booking guest part is always rough. And you were kind enough to come on my show this morning. We talked a little baseball, but you always feel like, we're trying to interrupt somebody's day to come in and just talk some birds. In this case, yeah, that can be a rough one, especially training camp time.
And we've got some very good and loyal guys, and very good when they come on the air with us. So I'm overall not complaining. It just all seemed to add up in the last 24 hours that everybody's out of touch, everybody's out of hand. But that's okay. You and I got plenty to talk about.
Certainly.
Where I want to start with you is the same place I started with John. Well, actually, no. We just talked about the weather, John and I, first. But then we got to the fact that indoors, climate controlled, the Eagles renegotiated Derek Barnett's contract yesterday. And it not a massive renegotiation, not a massive changing of funds. He's getting more guaranteed dollars, but he's getting less overall dollars. So I guess it means the Eagles believe that they're going to keep him. They're not going to cut him, or they're going to trade him because they're saving some money under the salary cap itself, but they're potentially paying more out of pocket if Derek Barnett stinks these next 2 weeks and he can't beat anybody. And they go, yeah, he's just not the same player anymore after this injury. He passed the physical, so they're not going to have to worry about him being a medical release. But if he just doesn't have it anymore, yeah, they're going to have to pay him $3.5 million anyway, where it was only 1.5. And John and I kicked around a little bit, so I want to get your take on how do you evaluate a guy like Derek Barnett? Because I fight all the time. it annoys the snot out of me when I think people evaluate players on where they were drafted and they're in year 3 or year 4 or year 5, and they're still being looked at as, he was only a 6th round pick. I don't give a what if he was a 6th round pick if he's going out there and killing it his first 2 years. But people hold where a player was drafted and what their resume says they're supposed to be. When you have enough of an example to judge a guy for what he's actually done rather than what you thought he was going to done or what he was supposed to do because this was where he was drafted. Pedigree, I hate that word. I love it in horse racing. I hate it in sports, specifically National Football League. Yeah, there are some people that still look at a guy's draft status. I have no rating of Derek Barnett because of where he was drafted. John is right. That's done. That's over. That's gone. Here's what I look at, though, and I think this is fair. He's gotten paid pretty well. He's a first-round draft pick, and that means your contract pays and plays accordingly going forward. I think that's very fair. At some point, you got to let somebody's draft status go and forget about it. But as long as you're making good money, big money, well, then that's the way you should be judged. Is that a fair way to judge a guy 5 years into his career in the NFL?
I think it's more than fair. I mean, most people don't even like adhering to the judge a draft 3 years after the draft. We like to judge that draft immediately that night. But when it comes to Derek Barnett, I know, and I agree with you. Based on what you do in the NFL, that's how you should be evaluated. But Derek Barnett, if he's not a first-round pick, is not getting the multiple chances that he's had. He's not re-signing with the Eagles. He's not restructuring with the Eagles. He's gone. Howie Roseman drafted him, and in that draft class, you took a guy like Sidney Jones, and already that didn't work out, and he was supposed to be the steal of the draft. So now your first-round pick in Derek Barnett hasn't really worked out either. And I know the Eagles have maintained a lot of hope and optimism surrounding Derek Barnett now through 2 different coaching regimes. The bottom line is Howie Roseman wants to make sure that he gets some juice out of that pick. You got to play in the Super Bowl, him falling on the ball that fell in the right place at the right time, thanks to Brandon Graham. Then that's what a lot of people think of. But then right on the other side of it, it's the total other end of the spectrum. It's a guy who has to this point been a bust. It's a guy that has provided that one great memory and then a hell of a lot of disappointment after that. The Eagles are just trying to make sure that they've tried everything to get something out of this first-round pick. And he also happens to play a position, and with a position group, that the Eagles have a lot of value for, and that's rushing the passer. And they still think that if he is healthy, if he's fully recovered from this ACL tear, he's going to come out and he is going to actually show you that he was worthy of that first-round pick all those years ago, and they'll be able to show you that they were right, because right after the money, right after the pick, these guys in the front office of any NFL front office, they never like being wrong, especially when it comes to that first-round pick. So as far as the restructure goes, when it comes to Howie Roseman and it comes to cap numbers or it comes to salaries or guaranteed money, there's very few things that I'll look at somebody in this position of power and go, oh, I'm sure it's fine. Well, Howie Roseman's one of those guys that I'll look at and go, yeah, I'm sure this is a good move, because Howie does not make a lot of cap mistakes, and I don't think he's going to make one when it comes to Derek Barnett.
And people have different ways of evaluating and rating players. Some people like PFF, Pro Football Focus. Other people can't stand it. I think it's pretty darn good, but they don't get everything right. And analytics are tough to use for a defensive lineman, because a lot of it has to do with how much a team is dictating their offensive line toward your side, toward you individually. So you might not even have a chance, but that's the only thing we have to go on is numbers, is using a guy's statistics to see what kind of job he's done. You and I have never talked about this. McMullen and I get into this all the time. How do you look at pressures for a defensive lineman? The stat category of pressures, which number one is a little subjective to begin with. So you need an official scorer who there's that cutting edge. Did you actually force the quarterback to you didn't touch him?
Right.
How many feet do you have to be within him? Did he release the ball any quicker because he felt your presence? It's a very subjective stat, but
yeah.
How do you feel about judging a defensive end like Barnett via pressures?
I like something that's a little bit more specific. I mean, pressures, it's nice to see you got there. Okay, I'm not going to dispel it. I'm not going to say that I put a lot of stock into it, but it's nice to see that he got there because it's important to get there. What I look at a lot of times, and it has to do with the Eagles, especially last year, because they were one of the best teams, if not the best team to do this, it's beating your man. It's the time it takes to get past your man, get past your assignment. Because as we know, especially when you have a team that has 70 sacks like the Eagles did last year, quarterbacks, the number one thing they're going to be doing when that becomes your MO, when that becomes your reputation, is they're going to get rid of the ball quickly. So you can get that pressure, but if the quarterback's getting rid of the ball in a second and a half, you don't have a lot of time to get after the quarterback, unfortunately. So what I look for is guys like Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, this year Derek Barnett. Let me see the amount of time it takes to beat your man, especially if it's a one-on-one situation where you just got to beat a man either on the outside or try to cut him inside, whatever it is. If you can get that done quickly, I'll pay a lot more attention to that stat, which the Eagles were great at and excelled at last year, than it will necessarily the pressure, because the pressure has to do with a whole bunch of other things. It has to do with what kind of coverage you're in, has to do whether or not you're in press coverage, which obviously with the Philadelphia Eagles we don't see a lot of over the years. But if you're beating the man in front of you in top time throughout the NFL compared to other edge rushers, defensive ends, linebackers, whatever you want to say, then if you're doing that at a high rate, then I think you're going to have a lot of success, and that's going to lead to pressures. Pressures could also be a quarterback is dancing around behind the pocket for too long, and you're still fighting with your man for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and then he happens to roll to your side, and you force him to throw it away. That could also be a pressure. But I love that one-on-one stuff. I love if you're able to being able to beat double teams, and we'll also be able to tell if that number is better this year in terms of beating the man in front of you with Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, and obviously Jordan Davis in his second year. If they're taking up those double teams in the middle of the line of scrimmage, you can't continue to make sure you're rolling protection to stop Hassan Reddick or stopping Nolan Smith or stopping Derek Barnett. Let's hope that he is a big part of that as well, or Josh Sweat at the same time. So I think when I look at the time it takes to beat your man, that's what I'll look at more so than just the pressures.
The stopwatch can be very telltale. You are right on that. And John always makes the argument. He goes to one particular play, which for his side of the argument, it certainly is fitting. Chris Long and his NFC Championship game, he got the pressure on, forced the pass to come out early, picked off, taken to the house, pick six. Yeah, did he get a sack on the play? No. Did Chris Long even get a hit on the play? No. Was he a big reason why the Eagles got a pick six and turned the game around on that given play? Yes. So that's as great an example as you can come up with as what a pressure can actually mean. But you can just as easily get a pressure on a 60-yard touchdown going the other way by the other team. And we never look at, so what? He got a pressure. No, it just goes down in a column as a pressure. It was a pressure that meant nothing, got nothing done, actually may have hurt because the quarterback decided to get the ball out quicker, which lent itself to a completed pass and off at 60 yards. So that's why I'm not as big a fan of Pred. There are three stats that you can look at with a pass rushing end like Derek Barnett: pressures, hits, and sacks. And the further you up the food chain, to me, the more important it is. Pressures, okay, fine. Hits, all right, well, at least you know you made him pay a price. Sacks, you win. I like to win. When you get a sack, you have won. There's a big difference between the three for me, and yet they follow all of them. Here's why I'm sorry. It seems like I'm a Derek Barnett hater, and maybe I am. In the league, in his time in the National Football League, his sacks per year, 5 as a rookie, 2.5 his second year. Now, you get hurt, he only played in 6 games. 6.5 in 2019, 5.5 in 2020, and he had 2 in 2021. And of course, he got hurt first game of last year. So that's a grand total of 21.5 sacks over 6 years in the National Football League. I'm sorry. And he was paid as a first-round draft pick. They picked up his 5th-year option, which means a big paycheck in that year. Yeah, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. I know he's okay with tackles, and everybody loves him, that he's a hard worker and he's a dedicated guy, and that counts for something. Not enough, but it counts for something. I won't just dismiss that. The other thing that you don't often check when you see stats, and you know this, and all the diehard Eagle fans know this, he's kind of infamous for taking penalties and penalties specifically at bad times. So you need to factor that in. I'm sorry. I just, it was rookie year fine. He's a first round draft pick. Was he overdrafted when they're comparing him to Reggie White because he reset the sack numbers in Tennessee? That was a mistake, Eagle fans. But he just, with the salary that he's been taken down, he just hasn't been a good enough player for the Philadelphia Eagles. And with yesterday's restructure, looks like he's going to be here again, Farzy.
I think most people, and I'll look at the people in the chat here as well, but I think most people look at Derek Barnett and I think their attitude is, okay, show me. Like the front office has confidence in you because the front office took you in the first round and they're still paying you. And they're, like you said, they're picking up the option and restructuring and all that. But okay, like, show me. Like, show me you're worth that pick. Show me you're worth this money. Show me you're worth a 5-year roster spot at least. And look, again, the play of the Super Bowl, him being in the right place, right time, that's great. But the other end of the spectrum is has he been an impactful player since he has been drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles? And I think the answer is a resounding no. You're a first-round pick. You're having this many years with the squad already. You should be an impactful player. And whether it's injury, whatever the case may be, a learning curve, the 3-year grade on a draft, whatever the case may be, the bottom line is he has not been an impactful player with the Philadelphia Eagles the way a first-round pick should be, and with the way the Eagles value a defensive lineman. Like, throughout the Nick Sirianni era, it has not been a blitz-happy era. Even the tail end of Jim Schwartz's time here in Philadelphia has not been blitz-happy. That's been relying on the wide nine. So the Eagles rely on pressures and sacks and all that based on beating the man in front of you. They're 4-man front, 5-man front, winning battles at the line of scrimmage. So if Derek Barnett isn't winning those battles and he's not being impactful, then what is it you say you do here, really? So I think this is a year where it's put up or shut up. I think most Eagles fans are looking at Derek Barnett with doubts, but they're also looking at him with, all right, all this stuff, show me you're worth 5 years in the NFL. Show me you're worth this roster spot. Show me you're worth being a first-round pick. Money is money. Howie will take care of that. Jeffrey Lurie certainly will take care of that. They've proven that in the past. But if you're an Eagles fan and you're looking at Derek Barnett with great doubt, I think everyone around you understands why. But that doesn't mean that you want to see him flourish. I don't know anybody that's rooting against anybody on the roster. So go out there and show me. Go out there and show me that you could be a 10-sack guy. Go and show me you could be an 8-sack guy. Show me you could play for an entire season and be an impactful player. That's what we're waiting for.
Farzy, another story that I wouldn't say broke yesterday, but new information came forth and was released. And I'm glad I'm talking to you about this because I already know what John's response would be if I brought this up with him. They made it official. They will break out the Kelly Green jersey on Monday. They will be available for sale on Tuesday for the Philadelphia Eagle fans. Now, John's stance is he doesn't care one iota. Our good friend, I know you're tight with him too, Ruben Frank, said the same thing. If you ask me 20 minutes after the game what color the Eagles were wearing, I couldn't tell you. That he is so narrow focused on football that he just completely ignores the uniform. If it were a 50-50 thing right down the middle, I would be with those guys. I'm more football than uniform, but I'm not as over the top. I don't give a flying you know what. I like the uniforms. I like certain colors more than others. I even buy into the little depends on the combination of the shirt and the pants. Is that a good mix? Does it help you win? It has no impact, but it's fun to just BS about you. When they wear the green pants with the gray jersey, it doesn't work. Their record is 1-6. No, it has more to do with the players than the combination of the jersey and the pants. But it's fun. I like to talk about it because it's fun. Does it have any impact on a game? None. But it's fun for the fan base and for us to talk about. Are you a Kelly Green guy for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Kelly Green guy. I love it. I've been waiting for it. I've asked so many players over the years why we won't see it. One player in particular telling me you'll never see it because the Lorries hate Kelly Green. And all the stuff that Jeffrey Lurie had been saying up to this point about, oh, yeah, we're working on it. It's coming back. And I'm like, really? Are you really working on it? Is it really that much of a priority? And I understand why it wouldn't be, but from a business perspective, you're then selling other jerseys with that Kelly green on, so that looks pretty good too. But I love it. And I think most people love, I'll say most people, I think most people love that nostalgia. I think most people want to look back to their childhood, even if it wasn't a winning childhood, right? Even if the Eagles weren't a very good football team in that Kelly green. And you got to go back to like 48, 49, and 1960 with the last time the Philadelphia Eagles won a championship in the Kelly green. All right. So that was even before the Super Bowl. All right. And then they win the Super Bowl in the midnight green, which obviously helps that color a little bit. But I love the nostalgia of it. I love the look of it. I know there's a lot of proud Irish in our area that absolutely love that Kelly green for that reason. But I just think it's a cool color. It does not have an impact on whether or not I root for the Eagles or want them to win, or it does have an impact on the game. There's only one time I remember Philadelphia Eagles saying something about a jersey color making them play better, and it was Connor Barwin saying that wearing the all-black jerseys made him feel faster, whatever that means. The Kelly green, I think, is a great thing. I love that they're finally bringing it back. And, of course, the Eagles would tell you they're bringing it back, not tell you when they're bringing it back, but at least let you know when you could buy it in the pro shop. So there you go.
Right. Well, they're going to display it tomorrow. Then you can buy it in the pro shop. Then they're going to figure out which game they're going to wear. Right. So the leaking out of Kelly green information has been a little disjointed. Mm-hmm. So you were an Eagle fan in your teens when they were wearing when Randall and Reggie were. How did the Kelly green evolve with Mark Farzetta and his Eagle fandom?
I don't think that, because they were in the Meadowlands, I don't think they're wearing the Kelly green. I mean, they had Kelly green in the uniform, but I think they were wearing the white jerseys. I remember the game. Randall, did he break his ankle? He got hurt, had to leave the game against the Jets. I think it was.
That was, what was famous about that game?
What?
Maybe the greatest interception return in the history of the National Football League.
Eric Allen?
Eric Allen went back and forth and sideways, and he ran about 180 yards. The football field's only 100 yards, but that's how much Eric had to travel to get into the end zone. Mm-hmm. And I still to this day say that should get Eric Allen in the Hall of Fame just by itself. No, they don't even take into consideration anything else he did in his career. That one play should have him in the Hall of Fame. It's a crime that he's not in it already. But that was the same game that Randall got hurt, that Eric Allen picked off that pass.
Do you remember how that? So he scores the touchdown. Do you remember what he did after he scored the touchdown?
Yeah, Randall was under the goalpost on the crutches, and he went over and he tried to give the ball to Randall.
So Jody, I'm 9 years old. Okay, I was born in Ambler, and then we moved around a little bit, and then we came back to the Philadelphia area. So we moved like 4 times between birth and 9 years old for me. That's the end of my family history story. Okay, so I'm back in the Philadelphia area. I started liking some other teams, like the 49ers. I kind of liked the New York Giants because for some stupid reason I like Dave Meggett. I don't know. And then I watched this game with the Eagles, and I see Randall Cunningham, and he's a guy I had heard about as a kid, never really got the chance to watch him. And he's throwing these passes, and I'm really watching him, and he's scrambling around, and I'm like, this guy's a lot of fun, And then he gets hurt, and he leaves the game. And I'm like, oh, that guy I liked is gone. Whatever, that sucks. And then Eric Allen intercepts the pass, runs it back, and I see Randall sitting under the goalpost. And I'm like, oh, cool. He's still there at the game. He's hurt, but he's got the crutches, and he's still watching his team. That's cool. And then Eric Allen gives him the ball, and I'm like, wow, these guys all must really love him too. I'm like, I'm going to love Randall Cunningham. Nice. And then I swear that's my earliest memory of Eagles fandom was watching that game and seeing, I think they had the Kelly green numbers, but it was a white jersey. And
they were white that day. You're right.
Yeah.
The green helmets with the silver bird wing down the side, which was also pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
But you were right. They were in white that day. I'm a Kelly green guy. With a name like McDonald, do I really have a choice?
No, you don't. Yeah, really.
I was a Kelly green guy before I moved to Philadelphia. So, yeah, I'm glad it's coming back. I'm interested to see what game they pick. I just am glad that it came back. And I will forever. Is your guy Randall Cunningham your guy, the number one guy?
Absolutely. I own maybe 2-3 jerseys, and one of them is the Kelly Green Randall Cunningham. Absolutely.
Yeah. See, for me, it was Reggie. When I think just what first comes to mind if I think Eagles Kelly Green, it's Reggie White and Kelly Green, because he's just bigger than Randall, period. So it's more to cover there. But and also he's a Hall of Famer. Randall, not quite to that level. Yeah, that's the first name that comes to mind for me when I think Eagles Kelly Green.
That might be the greatest jersey. The Reggie White Kelly Green jersey might be the greatest jersey. Like, period. Like, right. I just love that jersey. I love that look.
If you are an Eagle fan, that's one you want to. And I'm sure they'll come out with retros and you get an old Reggie White jersey. But if you've got the old one, now it's getting old. Hopefully you only wash it a couple of times a year. You only wear it a couple of times a year. You only wash it a couple of times a year. Because if it's 25 years old, it would be getting a little ratty around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
You've taken good care of your Reggie White Kelly Green jersey. All right, he's Mark Farzett. I'm Jody McDonald. We are Birds 365 today. Johnny Mack already headed over to the NovaCare complex. Sean Desai will speak before practice, and then the Eagles will actually go through a practice or work through some exercise. Don't know exactly how much they're going to get done in today's heat, but I'll ask Farzi about Sean Desai and what his job is going to be this year. First thing he's got going for him, he's not Jonathan Gannon, and that means there are some people here in town that like him before he ever does anything. We'll talk a little bit about the Eagles' new DC when we come back here on Birds 365.